The patriarch of the family fell victim to a cryptocurrency scam, lost the entire life savings, and took his own life.
Oh.
Not only did they victimize the person who took their own life, they victimized the family, and they kept it going by victimizing either other people by trying to draw on their emotions.
I'm Shawnee Delaney. I spent years undercover as a Defense Intelligence Agency case officer.
And I'm Tyler Gray. I served as a U.S. Army Ranger sniper, as well as an assaulter in an elite Tier 1 counterterrorism unit. This is Control Room. I want to welcome today's very special guest, James E. Lee. Thank you so much for coming. James is the president of the ITRC, which is the Identity Theft Resource Center. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. We are the secret that nobody knows about that has been around for 25 years. And what we do is we help victims of identity crime. So whether that's identity theft, whether that's a scam, whether it's fraud, if someone comes to us, we help them resolve that, whatever that is that they have identified. And we work with companies across the country who are supportive of these kinds of efforts, who also are very involved in helping people. LifeLock is a member of our board, has been for many, many years now. And it is important that organizations who actually can help people in terms of recovery, but also making sure they have the right kind of cybersecurity protections, have the right kind of policies and procedures. Those kinds of organizations, they gravitate toward our organization, and we certainly appreciate them for doing that. This is not what any of us know how to deal with. No one grows up thinking about, you know what, someday somebody's going to steal my identity and I'll know just what to do.
There's no high school class in this.
There is not. And it is devastating to people. And we talk about the amount of money sometimes or how difficult it is to recover, but what we don't talk enough about is the emotional impact that has on people. It can be debilitating. And a small amount of money to one of us could be the difference between eating, paying your rent, having your car repossessed to someone else. And that kind of pressure just builds on people. And our staff are trained to help those people understand it's not their fault. Because guilt is one of the main things that identity crime victims suffer from. Really? They believe they did something wrong. I'm too smart for this, or how did this happen to me? And they feel guilty. And that just overwhelms them sometimes. So we start with reminding them, you did nothing wrong.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you see all kinds of cases. What is the worst, just most appalling case you've been exposed to?
Oh, no question. Family in the Northeast who's the patriarch of the family, I can't remember if it was the father or the granddad, but fell victim to a cryptocurrency scam, lost the entire life savings, and took his own life.
Oh man.
And that's horrible. That is horrific. And we see more people contemplating self-harm than we ever have. But here's where it gets worse. The same scammers then went to the family, set up a GoFundMe, and took all of the money that they raised in the GoFundMe, and then went back to the family again and said, you know, you owe us more money. So they not only did they victimize the person who took their own life, they victimized the family, and they kept it going by victimizing either other people by trying to draw on their emotions to make them feel bad.
Please tell me they got caught. Did these people get caught?
No, they don't. They're outside the United States.
Yeah.
They are in extradition-proof countries.
On that note, what are the different scams that you're seeing explode or surging now, really?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of them, and they change from time to time. The newest one, literally just this week, the jury summons scam. So you get a notice that says you missed jury duty. So you have to pay a fine.
Are these text messages? Are these emails? Are these phone calls?
They're text messages, but we think that they may evolve, as they often do, into something else. Parking scams and QR code scams. That's a big one. So, because now we don't have, parking meters have the QR codes, or you have, and it's really easy to put a fake QR code over that.
Oh, just a sticker, just slap it on.
Yeah.
With the pandemic, as everyone knows, menus were taken away, which was horrible. I love my hard menu to hold. But with the QR codes in tabletops, think about an outside dining area or somewhere where someone can walk by and slap a sticker on. That's another thing that I always avoid.
makes
I
total
always ask
sense.
for a real menu. I don't ever scan random QR codes.
Well, and
Yeah,
what you
smart.
should do in those instances, because this is actually pretty easy for you to figure out, is this real or not? You run your finger across it. If you can tell there's a sticker on top of a sticker, you find somebody and you ask them, did you actually update the QR code? Or you just go park someplace else. Also, job scams. People are looking for jobs. They're looking for, maybe it's a side gig, maybe they're looking to change their employer, but they get far down the path and they've already given somebody all the onboarding information, their social security number, their address, their bank account information for the direct deposit. And then the bad guy usually asks, oh, and by the way, I'm going to send you your laptop or your printer or whatever it is,
Yeah,
but I
what's your
need your
address?
credit card so
Oh.
I can pay for shipping.
You mentioned it a minute ago, but how quickly would you say, especially with AI, how quickly are these scammers changing tactics nowadays?
They change tactics fairly frequently. What has changed more than anything else is their ability to capitalize and monetize the data that they steal. So back up for just a second. So everything we're seeing today is largely because of data breaches. Data breaches are the fuel for all identity crimes, including cyber attacks, because the biggest cyber attacks we saw last year were all using legitimate but stolen logins and passwords.
This is insider threat, what you're talking about. A lot of people haven't heard of insider threat, but I just want to touch on this because this is super important, especially for organizations. Sorry to cut you off, but people who have legitimate access to information, to data, to systems, to facilities, to talk about physical, those are insiders. And there's insider risk and insider threat. And the risk is you employ humans or you live with humans. I have 3 little human terrorists myself who are in elementary school. They're my little insider threats. But what you're talking about, that access, the credentials that get compromised, that's unintentional. That's compromised insider.
Yeah, and they may not even know that they've been compromised either. They think they're working on the help desk, and somebody calls in and says, "I'm Bob in Peoria, and I'm locked out of my machine. You got to help me." And they talk their way into getting Bob in Peoria's, who's a real person because he appears on a website somewhere. To your point about how do they change their tactics. So because that has been so successful, just in the last 2 months, we've now beginning to see cloud databases with no security on them
I like the eye roll.
that is aggregated logins and passwords. 16 billion logins and passwords in one database. Now, they'd all been stolen previously, but they had used AI to analyze the database, pull out those logins and passwords which were known to be live, and then now what we know they're going to do is load them into an automated program that all it's going to do is bang on logins, trying to get into systems. And that's the kind of thing that we're up against, but there is a defense against it. Because what we always tell people, whether they have been a victim or they're trying to avoid becoming a victim, is the name of the game today is make your information less useful. You can't always protect it because you're not the custodian of your information. Other people are.
But how do you make it less useful?
Well, there are a number of ways, but let's start with, and if you listen closely, you can hear everybody groan when I say this, you cannot reuse passwords.
Yeah, people don't like that.
I was groaning in my head.
The bad guys know that. They know we use the same password on all our accounts at home and at work.
People take shortcuts.
So they open themselves to attack that way.
I think this is really important because I've had the option now for a passkey. It's just started coming up, at least in my life, maybe 3-ish, 4 months maybe
Yeah,
that I've
that's
seen
about
it
right.
as an option. And quite honestly, I've been like, no, password is more, like my password, I'm not going to take the shortcut. It's
Because
obviously
you had a
more
good
risky.
password, right? You didn't want
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, it's
a lot
all
of effort.
asterisks.
Yeah.
It's amazing,
He
exactly.
just told everybody.
I know.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. And so it's interesting to me. I'm going to touch on a bigger thing here. They start giving you these companies, and make no mistake, I think it's great that they're giving us better options. The bad part is no one told me it was a better option. I see the pass key up there and I'm like,
You don't know what it is.
I don't know anything
Yeah.
about it. I haven't chosen it because I assumed a password is better. And so it's really, I'm so glad that you broke that down. I think that's great information to understand, A, that the pass key is better than the password, and B, what is it doing that makes it better? And that's interesting.
And there's another great part of it is on the company side, it's never stored. So if there's a data breach,
It's unhackable.
they can't steal your password because it's not there.
But that sounds great. I mean, it's easier too. You don't have to remember your password.
It's much easier. But we as a community, we do a terrible job of explaining things to people in terms that they can understand them and realize, oh, that is really better. And they can make a considered judgment. They may still not do it, but they're at least going to make an informed judgment. And we just suck at that.
Well, I think you did a great job. I don't know this we talk here because you killed it. That's really interesting. I'm so glad I learned something great from that. So
people think their information is not valuable. Say you have a low credit report or something like that, low credit score. But is Americans' information more valuable than other people from other countries?
It absolutely is.
Really?
Primarily because we are the most attacked country on the planet, far and away more than any other economy, any other single country. Mainly that has to do with the fact that we have so much information collected about us. There is so much information available, both already publicly, what we share on social media, as well as what is collected by organizations that can then be breached in some kind of cyber attack.
So would it be correct in saying, therefore, the more information that is collected, the more it's valuable because the more information they have, the more they can exploit it and do more with it. Would that be correct?
That is absolutely correct. Because remember, the name of the game ultimately is to get more information to impersonate you or to infiltrate a government or a corporate organization, either as a customer or as an employee, as a beneficiary. They're trying to get money from sources that have it. That's government. That's corporations. You're just the means to the end.
It's like, so you've got espionage, right, which is between governments. You got corporate corporate espionage and
industrial espionage and economic espionage.
Well, and then I'm going to throw out a new term here, personal espionage, right? Which is really identity theft to me is almost personal espionage.
Yeah, stealing your secrets.
Exactly. And that's actually another good point. Whether you consider it a secret or not is irrelevant. If it's personal data, 50 years ago, any personal data would have been considered secret. And nowadays, so much of our data is considered public. And we need to start looking at any of our data now as private and as secret, rather than just seeing it as, ubiquitous, the amount of data on us.
I think people are kind of conditioned nowadays to just give it up
100%.
freely. I don't know if you've received phone calls, but I've gotten so many phone calls. This is the hospital. This is a doctor's office. Can you please confirm your social security number? I can't tell you why I'm calling unless you tell me your PII, your personal information. I know that that's a scam, and I'm going to say, sorry, I'll call the doctor's office or I'll go in person. But I think people, like an earlier point, is people don't want to say no. They don't want to be rude. So
I have a great technique for that. I have the social security numbers of people I hate, and I'm just like, I'll confirm it. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad about just hanging up.
Yeah.
I think you should feel bad. You should feel bad about stealing your friend's social security number.
Oh, no, they're not my friends. They're enemies.
Note
So it's
to
it's a good
self.
technique.
Be nice to Tyler.
But don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to hang up. And don't be afraid to ask, why do you need that piece of information? Because more often than not, it's not really required. It's just something the company wants to build into your customer profile.
The word that I want to use is don't be afraid to be rude. Any invasion of privacy, your response saying no isn't rude. The question is rude, not your response.
Yeah, it is not rude to protect your personal
100%.
information. Wherever you do business, ask them what are they doing to protect your information that they have. And if you don't like the answer, go someplace else. There's plenty of other places to do business. Work with people who respect your data privacy and they're going to protect it. But when you are in those moments where you're not sure if this is real, you're not sure if it's a scam, but if you're not sure, just take a beat. Just take a beat and go to the source and ask them.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add, if you feel a big emotion, this is what I tell my kids. If something makes you feel a big emotion, you get a text or a call or an email, even if it looks like it's from me, deepfake, etc. If you feel urgency, if you feel fear, fear is processed in your amygdala. When your brain feels fear, your amygdala cannot process other emotions. So you lose logic and reason. If you feel any big emotion, stop, like you're saying. Just absolutely stop. Don't reply, don't click, stop. That's the first thing that I think people need to do when they get these messages.
I mean, that's so true. And fear is partially an ANS, autonomic nervous system. You know, it's you feel fear, and the fear kicks you into a fight or flight response. And yes, there's, you know, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Okay, great. There's 4. But thinking of it as fear kicks in and it throws you into a reactive state. So now you're reactive rather than proactive. So James, what do you see really the emerging trends of scams that are on the horizon?
Well, I think we're going to see both identity theft and scams/fraud continue to evolve, but it's going to become much more efficient and much more difficult to be able to tell reality from non-reality.
Because it's AI.
Because it is AI
Deepfakes,
driven.
voice cloning.
So there are all sorts of stats floating around. There was one that was issued by IBM just today. So 1 out of every 6 data breaches in the last year, they say, was AI related. That seems about right. But even the advances we have seen in the last 2 to 3 months, we're seeing much more efficient use of AI. We're seeing it's much easier for somebody to create a letter-perfect, photorealistic 8-10 second video. Audio, you know, that's been easy to clone forever. Now, you still don't have the ability to do it at scale, and that's one of the things that the bad guys like. But you know they're working on it. It's very clear that the next wave, because of agentic AI, so we've just been in generative AI, now we're moving into agentic AI.
Which means what?
Which means generative AI will answer the question, agentic AI will act on the answer. It will give you the answer, and then it will do it. And so that means that the bad guys are going to be able to take actions automatically as opposed to waiting for you to do a lot of things to facilitate that scam. So we know that's coming, and we know that more automated AI-driven attacks are coming as well.
So on that note, I think it's really important in general, but especially with where AI is and where it's going to go, that, you know, we're not saying to be cynical of everything. We're not saying to be paranoid. We're not saying to live in fear. We already talked about how fear is bad.
I mean, I sleep in a tinfoil hat. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I do saran wrap. I don't know if it's any different, but gives me a clear head. And so I think it's a matter of not being cynical, not being paranoid, but you definitely have to be skeptical to some degree. It's just the world we live in at this point.
Be aware.
Just
be aware. You don't have to live in the tinfoil hat or saran wrap,
darn.
but you do have to be aware. And we're used to doing that in other areas. We're used to doing that. Oh, you drive safely. I got to look around. I got to make sure I'm not going to hit something. I keep an eye on my kids. There are things we do. We just have to add another item to that checklist, which is, what am I doing with my personal information, and what am I doing to keep myself safe?
One thing that I do with my kids when we are having dinner, we talk about news. Like, we watch the news when I'm making dinner, and there's obviously always stories of breaches and hacks and things like that, and we talk about it, and I educate them. I think it's super important for people to educate their families and have conversations, because it is uncomfortable sometimes.
It is.
But to have people really, truly understand what's out there and how can they be targets and all those things. Just having the conversation enough raises awareness. So at least when they get that toll scam or something like that, maybe they will take a second and take a beat before they click on something.
Here's a key point. Technology is agnostic. AI can do wonderful things, but it can also do bad things.
Yeah.
Technology is agnostic. Users are not.
Right.
So we have to build into these technologies protections. And the people who are creating them today, they need to take that into consideration. It's the Star Trek line of, just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. So sometimes we need to take that beat, even when we're developing this phenomenal technology, to say, I need to do it this way instead of that way, because somebody could misuse it if I don't build it the right way.
Yeah, that's a super, super important point. Where can people learn more about what you're talking about and about your organization?
All of it begins at our website. So ID Theft Center, all one word, idtheftcenter.org, O-R-G. Everything you need is there. On that website, there's also plenty of materials. We have live chat as well, and we do text to chat. So text from your phone into the chat system. So we are only open, though, Monday through Friday. So your weekends we're off, but you can go ahead and send us your information, and first thing Monday morning, we'll be right back working with you to help you solve whatever identity issues that you may have.
That's amazing.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, James. Really great session. I learned a ton.
Well, thank you both.
Thank you so much. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Learn more at lifelock.com/control room.